Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about the evolution versus intelligent design debate. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of the advocates for intelligent design is most of them are very religious Christians, and they seem to think of evolution as like some sort of atheist myth or something. And it's like one of Charles Darwin's strongest supporters, although Darwin considered himself an agnostic, one of Darwin's strongest supporters was a Presbyterian. And I'm also going to comment first that 1500 years before Darwin, St. Augustine of Hippo basically claimed that the creation myths at the beginning of Genesis were not necessarily true events that actually happened, that they were maybe spiritually or metaphorically true in their own way, but didn't actually happen. And so when Christians criticize the non-literal, the metaphorical interpretations of scriptures, it's kind of they're ignoring some of the early religious writers. I'm going to admit that St. Augustine of Hippo did have his problems. The Bible's filled with, in my opinion, the Bible is filled with problems. It's filled with several contradictions. Some of the scriptures were written basically as criticisms against other scriptures in the Bible. But I'm starting to get off topic here. Anyway, intelligent design does not really have any data or any really serious scientists in biology who have done all these studies, who have all this data and have had peer-reviewed articles. It's simply the advocates for intelligent design are simply going into the courts and trying to get this taught in classrooms without any data. Now, a lot of them claim that evolution is just a theory. Well, in science, nothing is certain. Science is based off of theories. Theories are basically conclusions taken from a lot of observations, a lot of research, a lot of data. All the supposed gaps in the theory maybe existed with Charles Darwin, but we've learned a lot about genetics and all these other things. He didn't know how evolution worked. We've learned so much about genetics and all this other stuff. We've learned about some of the transitional species because there have been things dug up. But in science, nothing is certain, so it is, I guess, in some ways, just a theory. But there hasn't been a better theory that on all this. And secondly, there was someone who criticized Ken Miller's biology textbook, probably one of the most common books used in biology classes, in science classes in high schools, for Darwinism being all over that book. Well, that's because evolution is a major part of biology. It's a huge part of how biology works. It's like biology without evolution is like physics without gravity. Evolution is fundamental to biology. My opinion is, well, on the whole teach the controversy, well, when Ken Miller was told that there was this sticker on the front of his biology textbook that told people that evolution is just a theory and that they should keep an open mind, he said, I love this sticker. It doesn't go far enough. The implication here is that everything else is absolutely certain, except for evolution. My attitude is it should say that this sticker should say, read everything with an open mind. Question everything. Everything is uncertain. So, I mean, I'm going to say, yes, do teach the controversy. But you should also teach the controversy about gravity. Teach the controversy about the sky being blue. Teach the controversy about the sun being made of gas and flames and all that. Teach the controversy about water being hydrogen and oxygen. Or I think that's what H2O stands for. Wow, I'm forgetting things. Okay, anyway, teach the controversy about all these different things. Now, here's the thing, also. There are several Christians who have done that whole, to God, what is a day thing? A day could be many things. Could be billions of years, blah, blah, blah. Well, I used to be one of those Christians. However, I'm going to get back to St. Augustine of Hippo in just a moment. But, I mean, you can say that. You can do that. But you're going to encounter another little problem. When you read the first chapter of Genesis, then read the second and third chapter of Genesis, and it's like in the first chapter, God creates the world in this very structured way. He basically creates the world, the trees, the plants, and then the animals. And then at the very end, God creates man. In the second chapter, God creates the garden and all that, and then creates man, but man is lonely. So then God creates all these different animals, but man is still lonely. But wait, in the first chapter, God created the animals first, and then at the end created man. And then also in the first chapter of Genesis, God created woman separately from man. In the second and third chapters, God creates the first woman from a man. Now, personally, I personally like how there are contradicting chapters in Genesis, how it contradicts itself. It gives two great stories that I really enjoy reading, and I definitely feel that those stories do have a lot of meaning. But anyway, I don't think that those stories should be considered historical. They definitely should not be considered scientific. I mean, the first chapter of Genesis was written as basically, possibly even as a satire of the Enuma Elish, which was the Babylonian creation story. The Babylonian creation myth was not even intended to be taken literally, because no one was actually there to see any of it happen. But anyway, back to St. Augustine. He noticed those contradictions in Genesis. That's why he said to not take these stories in a literal way. I mean, part of it is the earliest Christians who selected which scriptures were to be put into the New Testament didn't believe these stories to be literally true in that way. And if they did, why would they put 4 contradicting gospels telling contradicting stories about Jesus? Because they somehow believed these stories to be literally true. Now, there's also the concept of the whole God of the gaps. I'm kind of getting into the science versus God thing, but for me, I'm just going to quickly say I'm probably taking away my my political convenience, because my theological stance is pantheism, but which is politically inconvenient when advocating evolution. But I do go to church, and I find the teachings of Jesus to be very valuable. I mean, I do self-identify as a Christian, and I guess, I mean, for me, one of the things I make sure that I do when I'm advocating evolution is to point out that I'm a Christian. And I mean, I'm not as much of a Christian, or what people think of a Christian as Ken Miller is, or Dr. Francis Collins. I mean, you can easily call them Christians and maybe assign some of the baggage or some of the ideas that you have of what a Christian is. And I'm radically different from most Christians, but anyway, I'm starting to get off topic, and basically the point of this video is evolution might be just a theory. In scientific terms, evolution might be a theory. But when talking as a non-scientist, you might as well just call evolution a fact. I mean, it's been proven again and again and again. Evolution is a fact. Thank you for watching. Shalom.